Hey everybody, Gary here with Guitar Tricks, and in this video I'm going to guide you on how to start playing fingerstyle guitar if you've never really played it before or you're not comfortable with it. We're going to go over a few guidelines for which fingers play which strings, how to practice playing all the strings, and then how to create cool musical patterns that could be a basis for a song. Before we get into the lesson, please go ahead and click subscribe so that you get all of the latest and greatest content from Guitar Tricks. And if you want to be notified of any new lesson, be sure to tap the bell. Also, please leave a comment and let us know what topics you'd like for us to cover on the channel. We're always looking in that comment section. All right, let's get into the lesson. Okay, so there's one technique guideline that we're going to use to do this cool creative activity that's going to get you creating your own fingerstyle patterns and making them sound great in no time. So here's the guideline. Let's start with an E minor chord because it's a 6-string chord. On strings 6, 5, and 4, use your thumb. Let's just practice doing that. So I'm just using the flesh of the thumb. It's kind of, you know, perpendicular to the strings. It's not out like that. My hand's perpendicular. This is more folk, country, pop style. It's not classical. Is using the thumbnail, so the thumb has to be like this, but we're using the side flesh of the thumb. So string wise, 6, 5, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, 5. Yeah, and make sure when you play each string, you're not muting any other strings, so they're all kind of ringing out together. So you don't have to use much movement to get that sound, right? Really slow, it's like this. With finger picking, you have to learn it slow first, and then you learn these patterns. They become muscle memory, and then you speed it up. But you kind of can't rush that process. Okay, now let's take the higher 3 strings. You actually don't even need to finger the chord anymore. And for these, we're going to go index finger on the 3rd string, the G string, middle finger on the B, ring finger on the high E. And again, we're going to go back and forth. Same thing, I'm not touching any other strings with any of the fingers, so I'm not muting out any of the strings. They're all ringing together. Okay, now as you see, I have nails. If you don't have nails, that's fine. Either way, you want to load the string right where the flesh meets the nail, like 1 millimeter or 2 before the nail, so that when you do pull away, you get the sound of the nail if you have one. If not, the flesh will still give you the tone. It'll just be quieter and not quite as percussive sounding. But if you're too deep into the string, your fingers are going to get stuck and it's just going to slow you down, right? And it's going to sound kind of harsh. Now let's put it all together. Grab that E minor again. Let's go thumb, 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 index, middle, ring, ring, middle, index, thumb, thumb, thumb. Great. Now we can make patterns. Maybe I go 6, 5, 4, 5, 3, 2, 3. And I'm following a beat in my head, but if I make that beat in my head actually audible, it sounds like this. Now notice how my hand's also not moving, right? It's kind of just staying there. Sometimes I'll plant my pinky especially if I'm not using my ring finger. When I start using my ring finger, the pinky messes with the ring finger because those ligaments are so connected. So then I like to keep my pinky loose. A lot of players don't even use their ring finger. I want you to follow this guideline as a technical challenge, and just something you could always fall back on is, okay, I'm going to use my thumb on the lower strings and I'm going to use these 3 fingers on the high 3 strings. But you might, if you have a simple pattern where you're only hitting 2 of the high strings and not 3, especially not consecutively, you might choose to use one of your more dominant fingers even on the high E string. All right, so that was on a 6-string chord. Now, if we go to a 4-string chord like D, what you might want to do is now, being we only are working with 4 strings, maybe use thumb on D and G and use index and middle on the high 2. That's what I find the most comfortable. Instead of doing thumb, middle, index, ring. I could do that, but my index and middle are more dominant and my thumb is very dominant. So that's what I'm going to choose to do. If we just go up and down the 4 available notes, we have strings 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, we can make up a pattern. A little bit of rhythm goes a long way. 4, 3, 2, 3, 1. 4, 3, 2, 3, 1. With a beat, 1, 2, 3, 4. Slowing that down a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. Let's do a whole chord progression. G, D, E minor, C. Now, one thing you can do that's really simple is, being you're going from 6-string chord, 4-string chord, 6-string chord, 5-string chord on C, you could just decide, well, I'm just going to use the high 3 strings and the root note. So on G, on the D, E minor, C, G, D, E minor, C. Right, so you're just taking a little motif or an idea and you're moving it through all the different chords in your progression. Now, then comes playing 2 notes at the same time, right? So let's try that. If we take the G chord, maybe we play the 2 outer notes. So on the G, play the 2 outer notes, thumb, I'm going to use thumb and ring finger. And then I could do anything in the middle. Right, that just came to my head. So I did outer notes, then middle 2 strings, alternating. Thumb and index finger. Here's another idea. Or maybe. So now if I apply that to other chords, just that motif, but on different strings. But what remains constant is I'm playing the 2 outer notes. You have to know where your root notes are. So G to D to E minor to C. Those are going to be your lowest notes on those chords. And my high E string is always going to be the other outer note. I'm going to leave 1 note off just to give myself time to switch to the chord. So See, that was starting to sound like a song, right? And the other thing I did there is I played very soft. So experiment with two things, trying to get all your fingers to be the same volume. Whether that's a low volume or a loud volume. Right? And then experiment with certain notes sounding louder than others. Like maybe I make my root note sound louder. So something like, right? So now what's really grabbing your attention is the boom, boom, boom. And then the other part almost sounds like another instrument in the background, instead of it just sounding monotonous, like clearly just one instrument and my two hands. It almost sounds separate, a little orchestral. So that's called dynamics that you want to experiment with there. Cool. So to summarize, take any chord and practice using your thumb on the E, A, and D strings and your middle and your index middle ring on the top three strings, right? If you're on a 4-string chord like a D, then maybe you break that rule and you do thumb, thumb, index, middle, just so you can make use of your more dominant fingers. But you really do want to get used to using that ring finger, because there's nothing wrong with it. That gives you a whole nother voice to work with, right? Practice arpeggiating the chords up and down. Then change up the rhythm. Then maybe just pick out certain strings, like and make up a pattern. So it's a clear pattern, it repeats, I can play it over and over. Then take that pattern, apply it to a new chord. So that pattern I just made. Right? Okay, then try adding 2 notes at the same time. Start by make it the root note and one of the other notes. In this case, we made it the 2 outer voices of the chord. Then add lyrics and make a hit song. All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed that lesson. If you want to learn more about playing guitar and take a step-by-step approach, head over to guitartricks.com. There's guitar fundamentals courses, rock courses, blues, country, a library of song lessons with downloadable resources. Happy playing, and I'll see you in the next lesson.